What's good, y'all, and welcome to Rosemary Radio, our weekly, bi-weekly, whenever we feel like it, video podcast hosted exclusively on our YouTube channel, where we discuss everything we loved and everything we hated since the last time that we have recorded. I am joined here today alongside Kevin Murray. How are you today, Kevin?
I am doing great on this beautiful Sunday.
We did one episode of this as a podcast, and then I was like, I have a better idea.
Yeah. Why hide this? Why hide everything we have to offer?
It was like a combination of Zencastr, which we used to record podcasts, decided that they were going to start doing video. So this became an option, as it wasn't before. It was only audio. And then it was like a combination of me wanting to like fill out all the... I want to go the full spectrum, you know what I mean? Now when I do podcasts, audio, but then I also want to fill up the YouTube page, so that's not getting forgotten about. So it's a way to just fill everything out. And Kevin and I have more time than the others seem to have, where we're always kind of ready to record like on certain nights and stuff, where other people's schedules are a little more wonky. And also Kevin and I have different interests that the people of the other two of the funny business podcast,
the funny boys,
the other two funny boys, Sean and Matt, sometimes they're not going to get on this long conversation about Marvel or something that like we're about to do. So it kind of lets us do that stuff here so that we don't have to do it there. So it makes everything better.
Yeah, it's going to make funny business a lot cleaner and more cohesive, because you and I can definitely get some of the nerdier stuff like off our chest ahead of time. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for this. The video portion of it's a little bit different for me. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, because I'm so used to just like, if I want to pick my nose while we're doing this, I can just pick my nose.
But we've been in a pandemic for a year. You got to be used to this by now.
Yeah. No, but I never left work though. I've gone to work the whole time. I feel like I've experienced the pandemic vicariously through other people in that respect, where I never had like the Zoom thing never took over for me. I've been at work the whole time.
What have you been up to, Kevin? What's new?
I mean, pandemic stuff, so not a whole lot's new. I mean, I mentioned this on another show we do about, I got my first shot. My second shot's coming in a couple weeks, so I suppose some sort of normality is coming back to me fairly soon. I'm an uncle now. That's some new news. I have, at this recording, I have not actually met my nephew in person yet, but I have to imagine that's happening soon.
Kevin, do you know what brought me the most joy this week?
What's that?
Sometimes it's the simplest of things, and this time it was the definitely the most simplest of things. So I finally sat down with my Apple TV and I synced it up to my television and my soundbar. So instead of like lugging around, when you're on the couch and you're watching TV and you gotta have like three remotes next to you, because like one's the soundbar, one turns on the TV, one's for the Apple TV. I don't have to do that anymore. I made it so that with the simple tiny little Apple remote, I can turn on the TV, I can turn up the soundbar, I can turn off the TV, I can do everything with that little thing. And it's just when I can sit there on the couch and just have that one tiny little thing, I can fit it in my pocket if I wanted to. I don't know why you put a remote in your pocket, but I totally could if I wanted to. And I don't think there was anything else that happened this week that brought me more joy than that.
Nice. I have Apple TV in two of my rooms also, and I have that same thing where I can turn the TV on and off and do the volume with my Apple TV. Mm-hmm. And I love it. My only beef with the Apple TV remote is that it's too small and feels too fragile, and it's like way too easy to lose. So what we did in our house is we got cases for them that are different colors, so we know which one goes with which room.
Shit, okay.
And we put tile tracker devices on the backs of each of them.
Nice.
So that inevitably when we do
I feel like it's different because you have a child, so like if she just picks up that thing and just throws it into the bathroom or something, it's like you can find that shit.
So that's probably my one beef with the Apple TV remote, is that they don't have a tracker on it. Like, it seems like that should be so intuitive because it's an Apple product. Like any other Apple product, I can just like ping my Apple Watch in any room and it finds it for me. Like, how did they not build in that technology to like ping your Apple TV remote? Because it's so tiny. It's like the perfect size to slip between couch cushions.
So you know why? So you just mentioned tile, that you have the tiles.
Yeah.
Apple is coming out with their own version of those tiles, where it's just going to be like Apple branded ones that you're going to put on your Apple devices or any other device, your keys, whatever you want it to be, so that you can just locate it via, Apple services. So they're doing their own version, Kevin. So why would they include something in the remote that they can just sell you later on?
No, I mean, that's kind of Apple's business plan as a whole. There is like, we're not going to include anything. Like, we'll just make you buy the extra thing. And I say that like fully loving Apple, and I do own
Oh yeah,
a bevy of their products, but yeah, that's definitely their business model. It's like, we'll just sell you a different thing.
I own almost every Apple product, and like here I am when they announced that Apple One thing, where it's like all their subscriptions in one, where you get Apple TV, Apple Music, Apple Fitness, and all this other stuff. I'm like, I will never need that. And then I started doing the math of like all the different things that I'm signed up for, and it's like, it kind of makes sense because it's a family plan too, and I can share it with Megan. So it's like, we're just saving money. I just convinced myself that $30 a month is a bargain, and of course now I have Apple One. So. The other thing you are aware, but the viewers may not be, that I am working on the online store finally. That was my weekend project, but other things happen, so I'm probably not going to finish it by the weekend. But throughout this week, I'll get it wrapped up. We're gonna have the Bench Points T-shirt. We're gonna have the Funny Business T-shirt. We're gonna have the Party Crashers T-shirt. We're gonna have other designs that I come up with also. So those will all be up sometime this week, and then we can start repping our own shit.
Nice. I can't wait.
So Kevin, before we get to the negative side of everything, we gotta think about the positives. What did we love about this week? And I guess usually it's since the last time we recorded, but we've never recorded one of these, so this is just current. I think it's one thing. I think we're going to basically talk about one thing for a very long time. Yeah. We got the season finale of WandaVision that just released on Friday. And I don't know about you, Kevin, but I love WandaVision.
I love WandaVision. I know. I think it was around episode 3 or so. I texted you while watching it and said, I'm obsessed with WandaVision. Mm-hmm. And that feeling has carried over from episode to episode. I think it's actually the series finale. That's the episode title.
Oh, yeah.
Series finale. So I don't know if they're necessarily going to do any more. And I think that's okay. Like, if this is just, one kind of like a one-off, like limited series type thing, I think that's all right.
I think it needs to be. Like, if they were to do anything television-wise with Wanda or Vision in the series, as far as like Disney Plus stuff goes, I don't want WandaVision. I want them to be a part of something else if need be, but WandaVision should just exist on its own. It tells us, it tells one story and that's it. Let's not jump in a new season and tell a different story. Let's just call this as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a very beautiful, self-contained story, and I think that's perfect. As opposed to something like The Mandalorian, that I think lends itself to like a serial kind of nature where you can continue to have him have adventures over time that can change. New characters can be introduced, new worlds, things like that. Where when you get to the end of WandaVision, you realize that the story they were trying to tell was just this one singular story. So I, as much as I love it, I hope they don't do more.
Like it wasn't trying to, it did, but it wasn't trying to like expand the Marvel universe. That's why we didn't see, the characters, like, full spoilers, by the way, we're talking about this shit. It's why you didn't see characters like Magneto. It's why like there wasn't any big reveals or any other MCU characters coming in like that were a big deal, because like this wasn't trying to do that. Like, this was telling a story about love and loss and grief, and like that was kind of the point, and I think they nailed it.
It took all the way to the last episode for me to realize, I think that's what it was. Like, I'm so used to Marvel always having that model of setting up the next big thing and doing the thing that shocks you and having the surprise cameo and things like that. That I saw a couple TikTok videos actually that kind of made me feel differently about it. Where these
shout
guys
out TikTok, sponsor us.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I saw a couple videos where these guys were talking about like, it doesn't always have to be like that. Like, Marvel should be allowed to tell a singular story, where, we talked in Funny Business about what who do I think the big reveal is. And it turns out it was just a joke that Paul Bettany was making. And I had all these theories like, it's going to be, I said Jane Foster, Reed Richards, Magneto, like could be any of these people, could be, Al Pacino. We even talked about that. And then you get to the end of it and you realize like this story was so perfect as it is that it didn't need that. Like, it didn't need to be that big thing to reveal it, because it's a self-contained story, because they just want to just tell this beautiful little story about grief. And think about just the balls it took for Marvel to just say, we're gonna do this little limited series that's about grief and like depression and just how you deal with like loss. That's crazy, because one thing that's been like a byline through almost every type of superhero or comic book medium is just death and destruction and all these things that just tear these characters apart, and they almost never deal with it. And it was really neat to have Marvel just take a minute almost to say, no, we're going to deal with that. Somebody should have checked on Wanda after Endgame, because he was still dealing with all of that, and this is this is what comes of all of that. So I just think in that way it's just such a brilliant show. I love what it did expand the Marvel universe. You do still get some new and some recurring characters to get a little more depth. Obviously we'll get more into this, but I think there's 2 movies in particular that it kind of does a nice little handoff and sets them up. So I loved it.
And I mean, like we said, like it being a story about, love, loss, grief, those things, it literally got to the point where before the Agatha reveal happened, I thought to myself, like, I don't even need a villain here. Like, I truly wouldn't give a shit if they just decided, like, we didn't put a villain in this Marvel story because it's not that kind of story. If this was just like a drama, you know what I mean? Like kind of a comedy mixed with a drama, and there wasn't an actual like over the top superhero moment where this person was battling that person, I'd be totally okay with that. But obviously we didn't get that. So, and I'm totally fine with that also, because then you got kind of a best of both worlds scenario, which it kind of pleased everybody. So I'm completely happy with it. If as of right now, if you had to rank it out of 10, where would you go? Is there anything you didn't like about it? Are there any negatives that you think would like bring that down, other than just maybe setting expectations maybe a little too high with all the things that you thought were going to happen? But now that all is said and done, what do you think you'd rank it?
9.5.
Okay. Is what to you is worth that 0.5 that makes it not perfect?
All right. So for that 0.5, I love like the sitcom setup. I thought that was really cool. I guess maybe I would have liked a little more clarity as to what drove Wanda to use like that type of setup for the scenarios she was creating. Like, and I get that they do the thing where they do the flashback and her times in Sokovia as a child, that she like sitcoms were something that was so special to her.
But to me it was just like comfort food.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen why the time change was happening. Like why each episode was its own decade or something. I think a little more clarity there would have been nice. A big thing for me was the way that the ending of Pietro was handled was confusing. Yeah. Because so this idea that he's just like an actor or something.
And at one point didn't we think that like Agatha was like she was controlling him with the necklace? That's right.
Yeah, so she was controlling him, right? So I don't really have as much of a problem with that part of the story as I do with the fact that they used Evan Peters, who's already played Quicksilver, because now that's confusing.
I think they simply did that just to fuck with us. You know what I mean? Like, he's a good actor, he was available, and it's like, yo, this is gonna make them start to make all these theories and be like, is this the multiverse? They're gonna tease the multiverse for as long as they can until they can actually give it to us.
Now, having said that, I did see another TikTok that kind of has like a multiverse theory on that, how he could still be the X-Men universe Pietro. And that is a one-off line that Jimmy Woo's character says at the first time he's introduced, that he was coming to check on Westview because he has someone in witness protection that's there. Now, if you look at the way that Pietro reacts to when it's revealed that his last name is Boner, he kind of laughs about it. Now, when I think about it that way, I almost think, is he still the X-Men universe Quicksilver, somehow ended up in this universe and is in witness protection because of the multiverse having been opened?
Yeah,
so I hope so. Possible. Now again, we're down the rabbit hole there, and I don't know if we'll ever necessarily even get an answer on that. But I guess I could have just used a little more clarity there as to why that was the decision for who played him. But yeah, that's really, I guess, if I had to really nitpick a couple things, I mean, those are my couple things. I love everything about the show, though. Shout out to Jimmy Woo also. Like, what a great character. Randall Park.
Killer, dude.
What a fantastic character.
He's just slaying it in everything he's doing right now. I love that.
Yeah, and like just that little bit that he had in Ant-Man, like I remembered him being an Ant-Man kind of, but it wasn't like he was consequential enough for me to to like expect him to show up in future things. I'm almost wondering if now they're setting him up to be another character that's in multiple shows, like Clark Gregg's character Agent Coulson was in the original Avengers movies. He was in the first few and then dies in the first Avengers movie. So I'm wondering if Jimmy Woo's character has a bigger role to play down the line as just sort of a representative of SWORD or SHIELD or whoever the kind of the shadowy government figure is there.
Right. So as far as ranking it, you gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Do you think it is fair to rank it up against other things in the MCU? So I follow Kinda Funny. We've talked about Kinda Funny before. They do MCU in review where they watched all the movies and they ranked them after they watched each one and like have an overall ranking. And then when WandaVision finished, they did MCU in review WandaVision where they ranked that show up against all the other movies that have been on as well. So and I've kind of been indifferent. My wife and I were talking about it as well, where it's just like, do you think it's okay to like just rank things as far as just like the story it told and just Marvel content as a whole? And as we continue and get more and more and more shows, is it just fair to rank all these things together, or do we need separate brackets?
I think an argument can be made for both. I mean, in my head, it's still a self-contained story, but so are most of the movies themselves. I mean, even the ones that have sequels, the ones that are sequels, you're still moving from A to B in a sense. So like you're still telling a singular story, like Avengers Age of Ultron is still just a singular story that you tell that has a beginning, middle, and end. So in that respect, I do think WandaVision especially can be put into a ranking with other MCU movies. Now, it remains to be seen, Falcon and Winter Soldier, what that's like. Is that a one-off type of story? And Loki as well, the Loki series. Are they one-off stories, or is it a self-contained narrative? So from what it looks like now, it kind of looks like Falcon and Winter Soldier might be more of a serialized type of thing where maybe they do multiple seasons. If that's the case, I don't know if it's fair to judge a show like that against an MCU property, whereas a self-contained narrative, even if it spans multiple episodes, I think warrants being in a list with the other ones.
And I think even then, like if there were multiple seasons of Falcon and Winter Soldier, you could go Falcon and Winter Soldier season 1, season 2 somewhere else, the same way that you do Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I think it's fair. So with that being said, Kevin, how does this stand for you then? Like, you've got probably Endgame and Infinity War and like those movies up there at the top, like most Marvel fans do. Like, can you personally rank this as alongside those movies, or is it like impossible for you?
I'd really have to think pretty hard probably what my ranking would be. I could definitely
it's a whole separate episode where we finally decide.
But but I will say WandaVision's top 5.
For sure. I completely agree. As my wife and I are watching through this right now, like, Guardians and Guardians 2 are right up there at the top. I know when we get to Infinity War and Endgame, because we've seen them, obviously, those are going to be at the top. Spider-Man Homecoming, but it's like, WandaVision's just perfect. And I don't know, like maybe it's the best, maybe it's right below Endgame. I'm not sure yet.
I mean, for me, I think it'd be fair for me to say what movies I rank it ahead of, other than the obvious ones. Like, it's obviously better than like Incredible Hulk or like Iron Man 3. But like, I like WandaVision more than both Guardians movies.
Wow.
I liked it more than Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, same. I'm with you. I'm with you
more than the original.
The only things I
like it more than every Thor movie. Even though I love Ragnarok, I like it more than every Thor movie. I don't know if I put it ahead of Civil War, but I like it more than the other 2 Captain America movies.
All right, I was going to save this for later, but I'm just going to bring it up now instead because you said the word Civil War. That was one of the last movies that we just watched. So we just finished Civil War. We're hitting Homecoming now.
Yeah.
You love Civil War?
I love Civil War.
Okay, so Megan and I, we're a little indifferent on that movie just because, like, they're all just kind of being fucking babies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we just sit down and talk about this? Instead, they just like, let's blow up a hangar. Let's just destroy this place. Cost the taxpayers millions of dollars to repair all the shit and like, repair these planes. Just because we can't like sit down and just have a discussion about this, we have to fight about it. Like,
but it's just but both sides are so. Like, they're so dug in on the side that they're on. Plus, you've got the fact that Cap knows the secret about Bucky having killed Tony's parents, and I think that there's that kind of always weighing on him too. Obviously, Black Panther's father has just died too. So
Mm-hmm.
like there's a lot more at stake there, I think, than just the registration act that they're trying to go
But it's
through.
like, you know, this whole thing is about just like how they've been endangering other people, and they need to be, you know, they need to be in check. And it's like, what if some janitor was just like over there cleaning out this plane while this was all going on? Sure, that place was shut down, but you don't know that everybody wasn't there. They could have killed people just for being babies. So I'm very indifferent about that movie because I love the introduction of Spider-Man. I love the introduction of Black Panther. I love seeing all them together in basically an Avengers movie that's not an Avengers movie. But I just don't know if I fuck with the story as a whole, or it just doesn't quite work for me.
That's fair. I have the Civil War graphic novel. If you want to borrow that sometime, I think
would it change things.
Well, I think just the stakes are a little bit more clear.
Mm-hmm.
I think the graphic novel does a better job, I think, setting up why these characters are so fragmented on this. And not to mention the fact that also the Civil War graphic novel, because it's not dealing with any rights issues or anything, like everyone's involved with Civil War in that series. I mean, you've got Fantastic Four, all the X-Men, Punisher, Daredevil.
Plus, you don't have to pay each one of them, so you can do as many as you want.
Yeah. So you should check out the Civil War graphic novel sometime. I think it would give you a little bit more of an appreciation of what they were going for, because you know that the filmmakers who made it, like, they knew what the stakes were. I don't know if the film does as good of a job setting up those stakes, but to your point, like I agree. Like, could they probably have just sat down and figured it out? Probably.
Speaking of graphic novels, though, do you have Comixology Unlimited? Do you pay the $5.99 a month for it?
No, I don't pay for it. I did like a trial membership when we were you and I were both reading the Kylo Ren thing, and there were a few other things I wanted to read, so I did a trial, and then I never ended up paying for it.
So I just recently re-signed up today because, again, as my wife and I were watching through the series, like, it's just getting me really into, like, it's bringing out the inner nerdiness in me where I'm playing Marvel's Avengers on PlayStation 5. I bought Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch, which is fantastic, by the way. And it's like, now I started wanting to read some of the comic books because I want to get those, the original stories and see like where they spawn off when the MCU catches up with it all. So I did sign up for Comixology, and I noticed this series. There's this like Marvelverse collections where they take they'll take Thanos or they'll take Iron Man, and they'll basically just package in like maybe 4 or 5 stories that like really tell that character's kind of evolution. So I found a Wanda and Vision one that basically like goes through their relationship and like here's the biggest stories of them and as individuals and them together. So that was not included in Comixology Unlimited, but I did buy that for like $6.49 for the one that I can read on Comixology. So I'm doing the comic books now too, Kevin. I'm fucking in, dude. I'm so hard in.
Dude, I love comic books. I mean, to me, they're such a good, quick read. Anyway, but there's so much more depth that you can get from a comic book or a graphic novel that you don't necessarily get from the shows and the movies, and it's just really neat to see that because the literary style of it makes it that you can take those times to like let something draw out and really let a character develop. And I love comic books.
Which, speaking of, I also I added a couple Miles Morales ones because straight up, I think Miles Morales is one of my favorite Marvel characters. Like, love that story, love that dude. Which got me thinking, do you think we'll ever get a Miles Morales in the MCU?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they've already kind of teased it. His uncle was in Homecoming, played by Donald Glover. So
who is it? Cast him.
Oh, so I did this. You can. I did an article a year and a half ago, maybe 4.
Was it in there?
Yeah. I put the entire cast of Stranger Things into.
Oh,
Marvel
that's right, you did.
Yeah, and so the little what's his name? Caleb McLaughlin, I believe, from Stranger Things. I had him as Miles Morales.
Gotcha. So I'm trying to look up. So the guy that does the voice for Miles Morales in the PlayStation 5 game that just came out, Miles Morales, and also he did the voice for him in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'm wondering if he does any actual acting. I don't know if he's just a voice actor or if he does acting as well, which it seems like he does. So if that's the case, this dude's got the voice for it. He's perfect. His name is Najee Jeter. That's my choice. I think he's been Miles Morales for so long. They should continue that, and that's our guy.
Yeah, no, I think I think we'll get Miles eventually, whether it's through just the natural progression of the storyline, or if they run into any rights issues with Sony and Disney working together. Because then if that's the case, I'd have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure that Disney owns the rights to Miles, where Sony still owns Peter Parker. So, you could see it go that route. Obviously, eventually, I think Tom Holland won't want to do Spider-Man anymore. And that's a nice, cohesive way to continue the character without having to recast or reboot.
Right. Because, in the comic books, Peter Parker dies, right? Peter Parker dies, and then we get Miles Morales after that.
Yeah, there's versions where that's the case.
Which they could totally do that. You know what I mean? They introduce Miles in a Spider-Man 3. Maybe at the end we find out who that is, and then Spider-Man 4, and that's the death of Spider-Man, and then the emergence of Miles Morales. But going back to WandaVision, what did you think about the way it ended? We had 2 credits scenes, one of which being Monica being told somebody up there was calling for, who we assume is
Nick Fury.
Do you think that was a setup for Captain Marvel 2, or is that a setup for something else?
Probably Captain Marvel. That would make the most sense, because Monica's already been a character in the Captain Marvel movie. In the comics, Monica becomes Captain Marvel at one point, or is the superhero Photon.
Give me a Captain Marvel 2 where like she's training her, and then they get to just go be bad bitches together, dude. I'd love it.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
And then the scene after that, obviously, it showed her kind of projecting a version of herself just out there drinking coffee. Yeah. And then there was the Scarlet Witch inside, like scrolling through that book, just trying to find, I assume, a way to bring her kids back.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what it is. You want to know what's crazy about that? So that very obviously sets up Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Just from the way she's sitting, the images that are around her, the runes that are around her, stuff like that obviously sets it up. But I found out today the music that's playing while she's doing that is actually the Doctor Strange theme in a different key, and the tempo's a little bit slower. Yeah, but it's the actual Doctor Strange theme. So obviously that's what that's setting up.
So what do you think is going to happen in Doctor Strange? What's the story there, and how does Wanda play into it?
So Agatha mentions at one point in the last episode that the Scarlet Witch is even more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, and obviously Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme. So there's that lead in there. I wonder if it's maybe a training kind of thing, or if Wanda's the villain. I've heard that thrown out as a potential, as a possibility. So I really don't know. We know.
If she's a villain, for what reason? Is she trying? Does she think maybe Doctor Strange is capable of something that could bring them back, but he's refusing to do so for whatever reason? So they fight because she wants.
Or the flip side to that maybe, she figures out a way to do it, and he tries to stop her because of this, that, and the other thing.
Does it maybe it splits open the multiverse? Maybe it just it fucks with something, and that's kind of how we get that introduction.
Right, because we know that they're clearly from another, they would be from a multiverse setting, essentially, because they're from a universe that she created. So if she can bring them back, they're not of this plane. Yeah.
And Doctor Strange's role, I think, going forward is just trying to keep things in check, and it's everyone's gonna fuck with it because everyone.
But that's really what he's doing now. As the Sorcerer Supreme, that's kind of his role, is that anything to do with magic or anything in the world, he has to kind of keep an eye on it, and that's the whole point of what's his thing called, the Sanctum Sanctorum, and so he has to kind of be the magic police. So I think that's probably where the tie-in is that.
So we're still about a year away from Doctor Strange being a thing.
Yeah, they haven't really said who the villain is anyway. I know Chiwetel Ejiofor is coming back, who played Baron Mordo in the first one, who was an ally of his who becomes a villain in the comics. So it's possible he's the villain. But then, I think there's a lot of different possibilities for that, who the villain could be. So I think that does set up an interesting, almost like a Captain America Civil War setting, where you don't necessarily have a villain, you just have two heroes that are at odds with each other.
Yeah. And remember, this movie was originally pitched as a horror story.
Yeah.
I don't know how that.
Yeah. It still could be. Sam Raimi.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm super intrigued by it. I can't wait to find out what it is. But yeah, that is an entire year away. Where next up we've got Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, do you think Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to move ahead like the Marvel story? You think it's going to like tap into other outside things, and we're going to get like appearances by other characters, or do you think this is more just like buddy cop, like we're going out and we've got missions on each episode, and it's going to kind of be self-contained and smaller in scale?
No, I think it'll move the Marvel story forward. I think you're really going to get an answer as to who is going to be Captain America moving forward after this. That's why I could see this just being a limited series as well. Like, let's just tell this story about either Sam or Bucky taking over as Captain America full-time, because they both have been Captain America in the comics. Obviously, Steve gave the shield to Sam, but you could also see, you know, the narrative kind of taking a turn where he doesn't want it, and then Bucky takes over as the permanent Captain America, or somebody we haven't even thought about.
Do you see any big MCU characters make an appearance?
Maybe.
We getting a Hulk in here. We getting, you know, someone from the guard. I don't know. Like, is there any way you can tie in those characters, or is this going to kind of be what it is?
You know, now that Wanda has kind of thrown us for a loop, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you will see that. I mean, I think you'll see some new characters. Obviously, there's U.S. Agent's going to be in it. So there's that. Baron Zemo is coming back as the villain. There's a new possible villain in it as well, being played by Aaron Kellyman, who played Enfys Nest in Solo. So, you know, you could get some new villains, which would be cool. But then at the same time, I'd be curious to see what heroes even could show up in this universe, because
I'm thinking less of like bringing in old ones and more of introducing new ones.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's cheaper too. It's cheaper to get like somebody that's less of a known name than it is to bring in fucking Tony Stark for a flashback.
Exactly. And but even to that note, like, I don't know who makes sense. Like, when we were talking before about WandaVision's surprise character, I mean, there were some that I think made sense. Like, the Fantastic Four introduction makes a ton of sense to happen in WandaVision. I really don't think it makes sense for that to happen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
So I'm not anticipating Fantastic Four characters showing up there. I mean, I guess now that the rights to stuff like Daredevil and the Punisher have reverted back to Marvel, maybe one of those guys would make sense in that narrative. But even that's a little bit far-fetched, because you'd either have to get the actors who played them in the Netflix series in, or you'd have to cast somebody new in those roles, which is kind of crazy. I think what that's going to be about, Falcon and Winter Soldier, to me feels like it's going to be like a continuation of the Civil War storyline, where you've got the government involved trying to regulate superheroes and things like that, and then you've got these guys kind of working against it. I mean, the whole character of U.S. Agent is like the government creating like a Captain America prototype to like for PR.
So, yes or no question. We're not. This is how we're going to wrap up this Marvel conversation and wrap up this Falcon and Winter Soldier conversation.
Okay.
Does Captain America show up in one way or another? Yes or no?
Yes. Not Steve Rogers, but yes.
No, that was the question. Okay, does Steve Rogers?
Okay, so does Steve Rogers show up? No.
Yeah. Okay. They let him go off, get Peggy, go for that, get that dance, and then it's a cap.
He has the perfect ending. That is, he has the perfect ending. There's no reason to bring Captain America back in any form of media.
Did you even see like Robert Downey Jr. like last week was just like saying he'd be open to being Iron Man again? It's like after this motherfucker basically was saying that like I'm done with it and I don't want to do it anymore. Now he's just like, I miss it. You know what I mean?
I think you need to let characters have a good ending, and they both did. You know, they both get the ending that I think the characters maybe not necessarily deserved, but like the ending that they needed. You know,
you say Iron Man got death, dog. Like,
man. No, but you know he
he got to sacrifice himself, and like
he saved the universe.
He was always the hothead. You know what I mean? Always thought of himself first, and he got to prove that he cared at the end.
Yeah, and I think him having the white picket fence and the family and all that was never really in the cards. He was living on borrowed time because something crazy happened, and he got this chance at a life, and he got a little bit of it. But then ultimately, he did what Tony's always wanted to do, which is he wanted to save the people he loved. He didn't have the power to go back, even though he had the power to change things. He figured out how to time travel. He didn't have the power to go back and save his parents. You know, that's something he desperately wanted to do, but he had the power to save everyone else's parents. You know, so he has a perfect ending. Cap has a perfect ending. Like, there's no reason to bring them back.
Agreed. All right, so moving on. Anything else you love this week, Kevin? Anything else that you want to bring it up?
No.
Fucking WandaVision just like cleared your brain of everything else. No, I mean, the only thing that I wanted to bring up was because this is a conversation that we were having outside of any of this, really, but like just music in general. Kevin, you don't know this yet, but I was gonna go in here and I was gonna mention like the new Silk Sonic single, the new Home Is Where album, and those are things.
Oh, dude, that week. Home Is Where album is
fucking
sick.
Primo, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's the deal. Yeah. I'm not going to get into that too much because later today I'm recording another podcast, a reboot of our music podcast, Modern Classics, with Jared Kennedy.
No way.
Yeah, we're bringing Jared into the family. We're bringing Jared into the family, dude. So I wanted to ask you before I do that, before I have this podcast with Jared, is there any message that you want me to relay to Jared? Is there anything that we're going to kick this show off and be like, and here's Jared Kennedy? What's the message from Kevin that you want me? Do you want me to embarrass him? You want me to wish him well? What do you want me to say to Jared Kennedy?
Nope. From one dad to the other, just let him know that I really hope he's settling into the same musical vibe that I am, which is that I pretty much only listen to stuff that came out in like 2006 to 2008, or I listen to bands that sound like they came out in 2006 to 2008. Those are my two favorite genres. Stuff I listened to in college and stuff that's emulating things that I listened to when I was in college. So I hope as a dad that maybe he is kind of falling into that same line where, you can still listen to new stuff, but it better sound like things you listened to when you were in college. Yeah.
All right.
You know what else I want to throw this out to Jared Kennedy.
Okay.
I would have to check the timeline, but I believe this spring sometime would be the 10-year anniversary of the last Like Trainwrecks album that we put out.
Yeah.
I know our good friend Matt Corey still has all those tracks. And
really? He remixed them too. He did a remaster on those.
Been remixing and remastering, and I think we should re-release that for the 10-year anniversary, but obviously I'd want to check with him first, and I'm sure he'd be fine with that. But I'm pretty sure we did our album release for that in the spring of 2011. So, 10-year anniversary. How different we were then.
Mm-hmm.
Just young boys.
I'm just copying and pasting that into the notes for him so I can.
Good deal. Is that going to be video, or are you doing audio for that?
Audio. So like the dream is finally coming true. What I've always wanted like the podcast to be, and it's like. We do with Funny Business, we're doing like the pop culture one that's like mostly movies and TV shows and whatever. And then there's the video game one, and then there's the music one. So it's just like they're all very similar. They're all two name titles. They're all like it just works as three separate entities, and that's what I want it to be. And that's why this as a video kind of like it all just makes sense.
It all gels
because this is separate because this is kind of just like a whatever thing. So it doesn't mess with the whole flow of that. It can just be here on its own. So it's just like in my brain, the everything lines up and it looks perfect.
I love it. I gotta get some Rosemary swag sometime soon. I want to.
Dude, the store is opening up.
No, I will take all of your inventory.
So Kevin, moving on to the thing that we hated.
Yeah.
The thing we both hate this week is very simple, and it's Hulu Live TV.
Yeah.
It's Yes Network. It's cable companies and cable packages, and there being a streaming service for everything now, and how complicated things have gotten. You see, viewers, Kevin and I both had Hulu Live TV, a package that included Hulu, the live stuff. There's Disney Plus, there's ESPN Plus, and all those like expansive packages. And it was all fine until back in November, they took away Yes Network, where we've now got spring training. We got the Yankees season starting up. 95% of Yankees games are on Yes Network, and they just pulled that shit because they couldn't come to an agreement. So this week I was left with the decision, like, what am I going to do going forward with cable? And I've been trying to avoid having cable for so long, and I'm doing research, looking into Sling TV and Fobu, where the fuck it's called, and all these other different variations of it. And really, it just came down to me signing up for Spectrum Cable again.
And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the same thing because I want to be able to watch Yankee games. Like, I don't watch 162 games a year, but I probably watch 50.
Yeah. And I want the option. You know what I mean? I don't have no options.
Yeah. I mean, so there's like, 10 maybe primetime games a year that they do when it's on ESPN. And like, that's all well and good. But But you know how baseball is. I mean, the reason you watch so many damn games is they're going to lose a shitload of games too. Yeah. So I'm not trying to watch like their one ESPN Sunday night baseball game to watch them lose to the Red Sox. You know, so I actually, I'm in the same boat. I'm not pulling the trigger yet because I'm not gonna pay for this while they're just in spring training because I don't give a shit about that. But yeah, I've got about 3 weeks left on this current cycle of Hulu Plus Live TV, and I'm kicking it to the curb.
Yeah, it was the right decision for me. I mean, I did an online chat with somebody that worked at Spectrum. They gave me a package, and like they don't do contracts anymore where you're not locked into a certain deal. There's promotions where like I am getting it $20 cheaper for a year, and then it goes up. Yeah. But he made me well aware of that. And there are contracts where I can't cancel and I can't change anything between now and then. He's like, literally a week after signing up, you can take something off or add something, or and he gave me the price, like and then the price of it was I was already paying for internet with Spectrum, so the price of the internet plus Hulu Live TV was actually more than this package because they can bundle things together, and it just made more sense. And truthfully, they sent me the box in the mail to hook up, and I did it, and then I unplugged it and put it back in the box because you also get access to the Spectrum TV streaming app, which works way better. It's way quicker to get to, and the quality looked better than the actual receiver gave me. So
did it really?
I just downloaded the Spectrum TV app on my Apple TV, and I just switch over to that and watch TV that way. It's seamless. It's so good.
See, I might do that too, just because I like my Apple TV a lot, and I like being able to have just one system that I go back and forth in.
I don't want to switch inputs. I just want to switch apps.
Yeah, but my only concern, was that I was going to use just the box, just because then I'm not tying up bandwidth to watch TV.
Right.
While somebody else is
in my package they gave me, they also bumped up my internet to 400 megabits per second for download and 20 upload, which I was 110. So it's like with that extra bandwidth, I can just stream TV all day. I don't give a shit anymore. So like that was the reason where I was gonna hook up the box, but I was also had limited HDMI inputs, and I was already using the 3 that I had, and I had no more outlet space. So it's like I just put that box. I think I'm gonna plug it in either upstairs in the bedroom or use it here in the side room. And I'm going to use that receiver somewhere, but like not for my main setup out there. Yeah. But I hate this because like I hate the fact that like we had cable and we tried to get away from cable for so long by being like, I only need Netflix, and now I only need Hulu, and now I need Disney Plus, and now I need Paramount Plus, and eventually you're just going to have so many streaming services that it's going to equal the cost of cable. Yeah. And then you think to yourself like, man, I wish they would just like bundle them up, where then you could have like Netflix and Disney and all these for a cheaper price because you're signing up for all of them, and they could just come together and work on that together. And that's just fucking cable. Like then we're just back to cable again. So it's like there's no way around it. Like they're going to make their money one way.
It's had the reverse effect because a few years back, if you told me cable would still be like going strong and satellite TV and everything like that, I'd have been like, no way, because like Netflix is killing it. Like obviously HBO has their own streaming service. Like at that point Disney wasn't out, but like there's other streaming services, Amazon Prime, like they were just destroying cable. And I did like what you did and what most people did. I just cut the cord. I was like, fuck cable. I don't need that. Like I'm not trying to watch CBS cop dramas and stuff. Like I don't give a shit. And the flip side now is that we've become so fragmented in all the different streaming services that you have that, like you said, now when I just add all those up, it's like I might as well just have friggin' cable. Yeah. And at least I only have one spot to go to.
And like I could get away with not having cable if every channel that I do watch had a streaming service. Like give me a Comedy Central streaming service. Like they've got like some sort of thing, but they've got like connections through CBS All Access, which is now Paramount Plus, or connection through this or through that. And also just sports. Like I need to be able to watch every Giants game and every Yankees game. So why can't I pay $10 a month to just have access to the Yankees, or $10 a month to have access to the Giants? It's because of contracts and all this other shit.
Two things that will never happen that should happen. I won't say never because who knows what.
Is exactly what I just said.
No. Sports streaming services, first of all. Okay, so like if you tell me, I mean like, and who loses here? Like the NFL doesn't lose. Like I know they have all their TV packages and all that, and they'll still get those. But if you told me like I can pay, I don't know, $20 a month during the season, and I've just got like NFL Sunday Ticket, like I'm in. Sign me up. Even if it's more than that, like I know NFL Sunday Ticket for DirecTV, I think is like $300 a season. Like I would do that. I'll buy it. Just let me stream all the games.
Yeah, there's only a few months of football anyways. I could sign up for it and then cancel it afterward.
Yeah, just let me have it. You
sign up for it early. You get all the preseason games also.
Right. So they won't do that, which sucks. They should do that. for sports, not just football, like any sport. You should just be able to buy NHL Center Ice, and just stream it. But number 2 is like from a TV perspective, it blows me away, but also doesn't, that like there's no a la carte option where I can just I can go to them and say like, listen, I get that there's like a base price, like maybe your base price is $20 a month, and that gets me like my locals and like the Weather Channel and a few other things, and then I can just add on. There's not packages, I can just add on.
And they don't all have to be the same price. They can be prioritized. Where I mean, like something like Viceland isn't going to cost as much as NBC is going to. You know what I mean? Like, give me the different values and like let me just like pick the package that works for me.
Choose. Like I don't care about CMT. I don't need it. It's going to be in any package. But like,
you don't fuck with CMT, Kevin?
No,
you're not country boy.
But if they're just like, $2 a month for Comedy Central, sure. Like, let's go. $3 a month for FX, awesome, let's do it. Like an a la carte option where people can actually go in. I think more people would go back to cable and satellite type TV if you had that option. Like, think about somebody like Sean, who would probably never have any kind of cable or anything in his house, but if he could just pay a base price and just pick out a couple channels that he likes and the price is right for him, he's getting exactly what he wants, he might do that. I
agree. That's the future we want to live in. Somebody pick up on it. Hulu, Spectrum, what are you guys? You got to change your business model. Times are changing, man.
Times they are changing.
Anything else you hated this week, Kevin?
Republicans.
Yo, it's like my AOC sweatshirt.
Yeah, sick. But honestly, like, to have all 49 senators not vote for that relief plan is just fucked. Like
that was just like they knew that it was going to pass without them, and they just didn't want to stir the pot. You know what I mean? They didn't want the story to be about them. They wanted this story to be about the Republican Party. They didn't want to be singled out.
Yeah, and they're running such obvious diversion tactics with like Kevin McCarthy did like a live stream the other day where he was reading Green Eggs and Ham in support of the cancellation of Dr. Seuss. It's not even happening. Okay, like that didn't happen. Like his estate,
there was like 6 books, and they were just like, these ones are a little sketchy, so we're gonna pull those. Like, that's the end of it. That's just like
that did it. Nobody asked them to do it.
They've got so many other ones that we could read instead, and they're not depriving your child of anything. Read him Cat in the Hat, goddammit! Like Cat in the Hat's fine.
Yeah, I swear, if anyone wants to engage with me on this debate, that's fine. Name one of those books that got canceled. Like they're not even in the top 50 best-selling Dr. Seuss books. So you've got people like Kevin McCarthy and Ted Cruz like shoving Green Eggs and Ham up their ass to try to distract from the fact that they voted against helping people who are starving. There's people who are fucking dying.
They would kill for Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah, fuck Green Eggs and Ham, man. There's like essentially a 9/11 happening every 2 days now, and you got 1 in 9 Americans suffering from food scarcity, and you're worried about Green Eggs and Ham that you can still buy. I'm mad about that.
Yeah, why would he pick one of the books that it's like fine?
Right.
Why is he reading that one?
One of my favorite responses to it, Michael Schur, who was the showrunner from Parks and Recreation, it's at Ken Tremendous on Twitter. He's an amazing follow. If you or anyone listening doesn't follow him, follow at Ken Tremendous on Twitter. His response to it was, like Kevin McCarthy's reading Green Eggs and Ham because he really likes Dr. Seuss, and he goes, okay, read one of the banned books, you coward. Like, seriously, I mean, that's the thing, is like, you want to come out and support, okay, fine, read If I Ran the Zoo. Then that's one of the ones that got unpublished. Go ahead, read that one, and do like do the voices and stuff too that you think those characters would do. You really don't want to cancel it, like, do the voices, man. How do you think that character with the slanty eyes sounds? Man,
we rest our case. I also hate olives. Fuck olives. They're too salty. I hate that shit.
Yeah, man, olives are gross.
Does your wife like olives?
Yeah, she likes olives.
Mine. Olive theory checks out, dude. Olive theory checks out. My wife loves olives. She gets them shits. I've tried multiple times. I've been like, yo, I'll try it. And I try it, and it's too salty and it's gross. She makes martinis, which are disgusting with them. Yeah, I'm out. Don't hit me with those olives.
I've said for years that I think pizza is kind of like the great unifier as far as food goes. Like, there can be things that you don't like, but if they're on a pizza, you're kind of just like, meh, whatever. Like, I don't like mushrooms. I really don't like mushrooms in pretty much any fashion. But if mushrooms are on a pizza, I don't really like go out of my way to pick them off most of the time. Yeah, because
Supreme Pizza is just like an overall flavor. You know what I mean? Supreme Pizza just means like onions, peppers, pepperoni. It's just everything together as one.
Having said that, olives, I will pick the hell right off that pizza.
Yeah.
They're so gross.
Don't salt that shit up.
Yeah. I don't have a ton of food rules, but I'm with you on that one. Like, I don't mess with ketchup. I don't like mushrooms. I don't like olives. But beyond that, I'm kind of good with whatever.
All right, guys. That's all for this week. Check out www.rosemary.media for everything else we do. The store is coming soon. You can pick up some merch as soon as that's ready. Subscribe to this channel here on YouTube for future episodes, and we will see you next time.
Yeah. Tell your mom about this show. Everybody.